Have you ever noticed how being alone doesn't make you lonely? It actually makes you feel lighter. Like the moment everyone leaves the room, your shoulders drop, your thoughts slow down, you breathe differently, and somewhere in your head a quiet voice says, "Finally." Maybe you've canceled plans and felt relieved instead of guilty. Maybe you enjoy walks with no destination, headphones in, world muted. Or maybe you sit alone at night doing absolutely nothing, and somehow that feels better than any party. And people notice. They ask, "Are you okay?" They joke, "You're so antisocial." But what they don't see is this. There's a hidden psychology behind why being alone feels restful to some people, and it says a lot about how your mind works. Let's start with the first type, the mental overstimulator. This is the person who walks into a room and immediately starts processing everything: the tone of voices, facial expressions, energy shifts, who's uncomfortable, who's bored. It's not anxiety, it's awareness overload. For this type, social environments aren't neutral, they're loud, even when no one is talking. Being alone isn't about escape, it's about turning the volume down. And if this sounds like you don't hate people, your nervous system just needs silence to reset. Then there's the emotional absorber. You spend time with someone and afterward you feel different, heavier, drained, even if nothing bad happened. That's because some people unconsciously take on the emotions of others: stress, excitement, insecurity. When you're alone, you're not carrying anyone else's emotional weight. Your feelings finally belong only to you. And that's why solitude feels clean, like emotional breathing room. Another type is the self-processor. These are people who think after experiences, not during them. Conversations don't fully land until hours later. You replay moments, rephrase things you almost said. Being alone isn't empty, it's where meaning forms. Without that space, life feels unfinished, like reading a book but never getting time to understand the chapter. But here's the twist. There's a type most people misunderstand: the quietly independent. They don't need constant input to feel real. They're not avoiding connection. They just don't rely on it to regulate their sense of self. Alone time isn't a gap to be filled, it's a stable state. And in a world that equates visibility with value, this can look strange. So if being alone feels restful to you, it doesn't mean something is missing. It might mean something is finally aligned. Here's where things get uncomfortable for other people. Because a person who enjoys being alone quietly challenges a social rule no one questions: that connection must always be visible. Most cultures treat solitude like a problem to be solved. If you're alone too much, something must be wrong. But psychologically, that's not true for everyone. There's another type worth mentioning: the internally anchored. These are people whose sense of safety comes from inside, not from constant feedback. They don't need to talk things out immediately. They don't need reassurance every hour. When they're alone, they're not drifting. They're grounded. Think of someone who finishes a long day and doesn't reach for their phone. No scrolling, no messages. They just sit, maybe stare at the wall, maybe make tea. To others, that looks empty. To them, it feels complete. Then there's the socially selective. This person doesn't dislike people. They dislike unfiltered access. They know that every interaction costs energy, attention, and emotional bandwidth, so they choose carefully. Being alone restores the energy they'll later invest deeply, not superficially. And this is why being alone feels restful instead of boring. Your mind isn't defending boundaries, your body isn't scanning for cues, your identity isn't being adjusted to fit the room. It's not withdrawal, it's recovery. The real issue isn't that some people love being alone, it's that we don't have language for quiet fulfillment. So we mislabel it as distance, coldness, even sadness. But maybe solitude isn't the absence of connection. Maybe it's connection without performance. So ask yourself, when you're alone, do you feel empty or more like yourself? Do you come back to people refreshed or resentful you didn't get the space first? Which type felt uncomfortably familiar? If this kind of psychology resonates with you, you're not alone in preferring quiet understanding over loud answers. And sometimes, the most revealing conversations are the ones you have in silence.